in the interest of our people.
President Buhari signs 2022 budget and finance bill into law.
Double track. Yeah, for double formation. Yeah, the formation is about double.
Change in the structure of Kano Kaduna Rail as Transportation Minister inspects site. Leaving no one behind. Federal government extends NIN-SIM verification to 31st of March 2022. Good evening and welcome to NTA Network News, the very last in the year 2021. And joining me tonight on the news is Michael from Lagos and Mohammed Ibrahim will join us from Maiduguri. It's a pleasure to have you join us. The 17.127 trillion naira budget of economic growth and sustainability for the 2022 fiscal year has been formally signed into law. Also assented to is the 2021 finance bill, which is critical to the successful implementation of the budgetary provisions. President Muhammadu Buhari, who signed the documents, promised to improve the general living conditions of Nigerians, as well as implement measures to moderate the unintended negative effects of his administration's policies on them. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the details.
Flanked by presiding officers of the National Assembly and some key members of the Federal Cabinet, President Muhammadu Buhari signs the 2022 budget of 17.127 trillion naira into law, describing it as crucial in his administration's efforts at completing and putting to use critical agenda projects, as well as improving the living conditions of Nigerians.
We must continue to sustain this partnership in the interest of our people, in order to ensure the effective implementation of the budget and realization of its laudable objectives.
The budget has an increase of 735.85 billion naira over the initial executive proposal. Although the president has admitted to have authorized 186.53 billion naira of the amount for additional critical expenditure, he, however, expressed reservations about many of the changes made in form of new insertions, outright removals, reductions, or increase in the amounts allocated to projects.
Provisions made for as many as 10,733 projects were reduced, while 6,576 new projects were introduced into the budget by the National Assembly. The cuts in the provisions for several of these projects by the National Assembly may render the projects unimplementable or set back their completion.
President Buhari also expressed worry that 12.6 billion naira has been reduced in the budget for rail modernization projects, 25.8 billion naira from power sector reform program, and 14.5 billion naira from various agriculture projects.
I will revert to the National Assembly with a request for amendment and or amendment as soon as the Assembly resumes, to ensure that critical ongoing projects that are cardinal to this administration and those nearing completion do not suffer a setback due to reduced funding.
Being the last full-year budget to be implemented by the Buhari presidency, its effective execution is very critical to delivering the ongoing legacy projects, promoting social inclusion and strengthening the resilience of the economy. The president therefore directed the Ministry of Finance to implement all measures required to ensure timely and targeted release of capital votes, while MDAs are to, amongst others, ensure productive use of the funds provided for the realization of the objectives set for their sectors.
Revenue generation agencies, and indeed all MDAs, must ensure prompt and full remittance of collected revenues. All borrowings will be judiciously utilized and invested in our future growth and prosperity.
The driving force is cooperation, partnership, synergy, and that understanding and mutual respect. And of course, Nigeria is benefiting from that kind of relationship.
The Senate President also reacted to the reservations expressed by President Muhammadu Buhari over the changes made to the executive budget proposals.
Mr. President is happy with the majority of what the National Assembly has done, and that's the most critical thing that we need to focus on. As for the observations Mr. President has raised, I'm happy that the President signed the budget in the first place, and he said he's coming back to the National Assembly to seek for amendments or amendments, and this is natural, logical legislative process.
So what next, sir, after the signing of this budget, sir?
Of this budget for the House of Reps? Oh, we're on vacation now. When we come back on the 18th, you'll know what's next.
This is the third consecutive year Nigeria's national budget will be implemented within the January to December cycle. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And in the studio to shed more light on the signing of the 2022 budget is Professor Uche Owaleke, Professor of Capital Market at the Nasarawa State University and President, Association of Capital Market Academics of Nigeria. You're welcome to Network News.
Thank you very much. Jummai, it's indeed my pleasure.
Compliments of the season.
Compliments too. I'm delighted to be your last guest for the year.
Yeah, my last guest. No, you're not the last. Somebody else is coming in. We're going to talk about something else. And congratulations to the government for signing the budget into law and maintaining the December to January cycle. Now, let's talk about a little bit change in the budget from 16.3 trillion to 17.127 trillion. And from stakeholders are saying that the president had some reservation over the additions to the budget by the National Assembly. Tell us, what's your take on that?
Well, I'll start by commending the president for signing. Despite the alterations by the National Assembly, that shows a commitment, to ensure that the fiscal year is predictable. That we continue to have January to December fiscal year in alignment, with the calendar year. And of course, that's good for planning, and that's also good for, investment decisions. As a matter of fact, one of the beneficiaries of what happened today, has been the stock market. The stock market, gained strongly today by 2.16%, which happens to be the highest gain it has recorded, this month. And that's to tell you the signaling effect of the president signing that appropriation bill. I recall, in 2017, just adjustment by $2, caused misunderstanding between the executive arm and the legislative arm. The back and forth, resulted in delays in budget implementation. But this year, we expect that the implementation will kick in good time, now that the president has signed it. So I think it's a good thing. Now, regarding the change, left to me, on a personal note, I would have, wanted the National Assembly, to stay with the oil reference price of $57 per barrel, the one initially submitted by the president. But of course, they jacked it up to $62.
Because the price of oil is going up.
Yes, but of course we also know that that's one market you can't really predict. So it's usually better when you're doing budgeting to to stay on the safe side, to be conservative. But again, that has happened. But what the president is concerned about, it's not even more about the adjustment in the benchmark, but in the fact that a number of items were, reduced, provisions were reduced, and some others, introduced, and according to him, without justification. But I think, I'm not holding brief for the National Assembly. I think they may have their reasons for, making those adjustments. But what is missing in all that, is the communication, is including the justification for whatever they have done. I'm pretty sure if they had done that, the president wouldn't have expressed, those concerns.
Now, you're talking about implementation. Let's talk about the implementation of the 2021 capital budget extended to March 2022. How will it affect the economic landscape going forward?
I think it's important that the capital component of the budget, gets implemented, which is why I'm happy that it's being extended now by, additional 3 months, to enable MDAs, complete, that implementation. If you also listen to the president when he was signing the bill, he talked about, the Ministry of Finance, releasing fully about 3.9 trillion naira meant for capital the portion, to be implemented by MDAs in 2021. That has fully been released. Okay, so for me, that's good. That's also commendable. But of course, beyond release of money, it is very critical that we pay more attention to monitoring and evaluation. Okay, because you find out that you have over 900 MDAs, but usually what is being reported each time you read the budget implementation reports, what's usually being reported, is always in respect of very few ministries, very few MDAs. Okay, so monitoring and evaluation is very critical. Another critical thing, that needs to be paid attention to is the issue of the auditor's report. Okay, the Auditor General's report. Each time Auditor General will produce a report and talk about, diversion of funds, for example, or we'll talk about, illegal spending. Those reports are not implemented. Okay, because over the years, the Auditor General, has submitted reports through the Public Accounts Committee to the National Assembly, but they don't get implemented. So we need to pay attention. If we have to get implementation right, monitoring and evaluation is key. Implementation of the Supreme Audit Institution's report is also very key.
Okay, let's talk about, it's the last full year budget by this administration, and how will it shape the ratings of the performance of this administration? And, earlier you said COVID-19 sort of destabilized the oil market, it cannot be predicted.
Yes, it can.
And how do you think it will affect 2022?
Yes, the 2022 budget, by all standards, relatively speaking, is an expansionary one. 17.1 trillion is a lot of money, especially given the fact that over 5 trillion, with these adjustments, about 5.4 trillion, is going into capital spending, excluding even the capital component of the statutory transfer. So that's a lot of money, and which is also why the president talked about the reductions in some key ministries, provisions in some key ministries like transport, agriculture, power. Okay, he said those reductions will make projects in those ministries unimplementable. Okay, so it's important that the National Assembly takes a second look, at those allocations to be sure that those critical projects, are not underfunded.
Okay, quickly, I noticed something when Adamu Sambo said, he said, and I quote, that the document, signing the document, he promised to improve the general living conditions of Nigerians, as well as implement measures to moderate the unintended negative effect of his administration's policy on them. That is humane. This is the first, don't you think?
Yes,
briefly, before we go.
Yes, I think so too. Government policies, no matter how well-intentioned, will usually have unintended consequences. Take, for example, the implementation of the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act, will have consequences that are unintended. Of course, we expect that it will happen, create some hardships. So it's now important for the government to begin now to put in place measures, to cushion the effect of those unintended
negative effects.
Exactly.
Okay, Professor Uche Waleke, Professor of Capital Market at the Nasarawa State University and President Association of Capital Market Academics of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your insight into signing of the 2022 budget. It's a pleasure. Happy New Year in advance. In a few hours, we're celebrating New Year. Yes. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has urged the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, to use the opportunity of Nigeria's new position at the International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol, to confront more aggressively the security challenges bedeviling the nation. This was while granting audience to the newly elected Vice President of the Interpol for Africa, Nigeria's AIG Garba Baba Umar. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
The Interpol Vice President for Africa, who is also an executive committee member of the organization, was formally presented to the President by the Minister of Police Affairs, Muhammad Maigari Dingadi. The minister had told the President that AIG Garba Baba Umar had always distinguished himself in the service in various capacities, and his election into the Interpol Executive Committee was well merited. President Muhammadu Buhari congratulated the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, who was also at the event, for having one of his men representing the whole of Africa at the Interpol. He urged the IGP to take advantage of the opportunity towards galvanizing the Nigeria police, especially the officer corps, to put in more efforts at addressing the challenges of security confronting Nigeria. The president also extended warm felicitations to the new vice president of the Interpol, urging him not to relent in his efforts at keeping the nation's flag flying. AIG Garba Umar was elected vice president of the Interpol for Africa on the 25th of last month at the organization's 89th General Assembly held in Istanbul, Turkey. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari also granted audience to the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma. Details of their discussions held behind closed doors were not made public. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
You're watching NTA Network News. We'll take a break now. More reports when we return. Don't go away.
Sure, Danny. This one where you get Christmas mood, so see you with this and this and this every day now. Christmas with Globe Berekete plus. Now I feel listen to all my favorite jams all night long.
Glow Bracket Plus is here, and every day is now Christmas. Existing Glow customers will get 400% bonus on every recharge and 100 MB data bonus on first recharge of the month. New Glow customers will get 1,000 Naira welcome bonus. To activate, buy a new Glow SIM today or dial *777# for existing Glow customers.
Every day now Christmas with the Glow Berekete plus.
Dear friend, as 2021 ends, we share your gratitude for its blessings. We acknowledge your low moments too and wish you strength to carry through. At Bedmate, we'll keep making your living better because we believe that furniture is not just an item made of wood, glass, marble, or steel, but a symbol of your unity and good times with your loved ones. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year full of all the finest things you desire.
Over 1,500 winners have emerged and 27 million Naira won. You too can be the next. Get ready to blow this season in the Airtel Recharge and Blow promo. You stand a chance to win up to 100 million Naira, guaranteed tokens, and 25% discounts to restaurants across Nigeria. How awesome is that? Everyone's a winner, so hurry. Start recharging.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
The National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, in conjunction with the Federal Road Safety Corps, wish to remind all road users to obey all traffic rules and regulations as we journey through the Yuletide season. Avoid excessive speed. Don't overload your vehicle. Always use your seatbelts. Avoid drunk driving. Ensure proper maintenance of your vehicle. Before traveling this season, avoid night trips. In case of any road crash or traffic-related challenges, please call toll-free emergency line for FRSC 122. Remember, only the living celebrate. As we look forward to seeing you in the new year, always drive to stay alive. Compliments of the season. In recognition of the prevailing issues of the day, please obey all COVID-19 protocols. Alhaji Professor Tajuddin Ibikunle Barua, President, NURTW, Announcer.
Introducing an all-time mega offer. Get over 50% discount in the Airtel Home Broadband mega offer. Buy a router for just 10,000 Naira and get up to 240 gigabyte or a MiFi for 5,000 Naira and get up to 125 gigabyte bonus data. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband bar.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
I know that in the last decade, this country has been at different wars trying to keep the peace and promote the sovereignty and the integrity of the country. The troops are doing their best. The president has given them all the necessary tools. It is left for us as young people and as Nigerians to give them all the support we can. We say kudos to all our gallant military men. Please, whenever you see a police officer in or out of uniform, if you know them, clap for them whenever they need be. Give them seats in buses and trains and airplanes. Have the airline managers reduce air tickets for them or train tickets for them. Show them that we appreciate what they do and show their families that there is something right and honorable and truly remarkable about wearing a uniform and going into the bushes and the forest to fight enemies of this country that are hell-bent in bringing your life to an end. It's a very tough time, but we have to all put our hands together. Please support our troops and support our police officers.
You're welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari has made a strong case for Nigerians to bury their differences, stand together against all odds and work assiduously with patriotic zeal towards keeping the nation united, strong and prosperous. In his New Year message to the nation, the president said the security and socio-economic challenges notwithstanding, 2022 must be welcomed with high hopes and optimism as the future of Nigeria can still be written in gold. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
In a personally signed statement, President Muhammadu Buhari salutes the courage and resilience of all Nigerians in their determination to overcome severe challenges along the path to building the nation of their dream. The persistent insecurity in parts of the country may have threatened to unravel the incremental gains achieved in the real sector of the economy, but the president says his administration will not relent in forging ahead towards positioning the nation on the irreversible trajectory of sustainable growth and progress. The federal government, he emphasizes, remains fully committed to upholding the constitutional provisions that protect all Nigerians from any form of internal and external aggression. On the economy, President Buhari believes that Nigeria has shown a high level of resilience, and the major wins recorded can be clearly seen in the recent GDP figures, showing a 4.03% growth in the third quarter of 2021. This closely followed by a 5.1% year-on-year growth in real terms was one of the best recorded by any nation across the sub-Saharan Africa. Describing the signing of the Petroleum Industry Act as a watershed moment in the nation's history, the president says the landmark legislation is expected to serve as a liberalization force in the energy industry. The objective of the government, he explains, is to increase liquefied natural gas exports and expand the nation's domestic market. And in the year 2022 and going forward, President Buhari is promising that his administration would intentionally leverage ICT platforms to create jobs while ensuring that the diversification of the economy creates more support to other emerging sectors. He takes pride in the fact that several foreign investors are taking advantage of Nigeria's ranking as one of the leading startup ecosystems in Africa to invest in the country's digital economy. Meanwhile, despite the challenges in 2021, the president says his administration executed successfully key projects, programs, and initiatives to fulfill promises made under the security, economy, and anti-corruption agenda. And as Nigerians welcome 2022 and celebrate life in this new epoch, the president asks them to do so with high hopes and confidence that the future of Nigeria is bright and indeed promising. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Still staying with the presidency, the Commander of Presidential Air Fleet, Air Vice Marshal Abubakar Yaro Abdullahi, has been formally decorated with his new rank. President Muhammadu Buhari at the ceremony stated his administration's commitment to the welfare and well-being of the nation's armed forces and the sustained efforts at securing Nigeria for a sustainable future. Again, Adamu Sambo reports.
Born in 1970 in Kaduna, Air Vice Marshal Abubakar Abdullahi joined the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, in September 1989 as member of the 41 regular course and graduated in 1993 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Political Science and Defense Studies. Commissioned into the Nigerian Air Force in 1994, Air Vice Marshal Abdullahi was promoted flying officer a year later and rose through the ranks to become and Air Commodore in September 2017. His promotion to the rank of Air Vice Marshal took effect from September 2021. Before his appointment as Commander, Presidential Air Fleet, Air Vice Marshal Yero Abdullahi was Commander 301 Heavy Airlift Group of the Nigerian Air Force, Lagos. The decoration ceremony was witnessed by his father, Yero Abdullahi, immediate family members, and Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Isiaka Oladayo Amao.
Promotion comes with a higher responsibility. The officer is a very fine officer. We find him worthy of performing better in his higher rank. That's why he was promoted. What I will employ him to do is to also keep up the good work, and the sky is his limit.
And how does it feel being decorated by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces?
It's not everybody that gets that opportunity to be decorated by his Commander-in-Chief. So I feel elated. It's a consummation of joy, gratitude to the Almighty and to the CNC for having the time and finding me worthy for these 2 stars.
What can you assure him and the nation?
Well, what I can assure him is what I've always been doing, and now I will redouble my effort to ensure that whatever task that is given to me by my Commander-in-Chief, the Chief of the Air Staff, I carry it to the best of my ability.
Air Vice Marshal Abdullahi is married and blessed with 3 children. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
The multinational Joint Task Force operations in Sharon Fage, with support from troops of Operation Hadankai in northeast Nigeria, has eliminated 22 Boko Haram ISWAP terrorists hibernating in Malam Futori town near the fringes of the Lake Chad. Colonel Mohammed Dole, the Chief of Medical Public Information Headquarters, MNJTF Chad, says with support from the air component of Operation Hadankai, other partners with air assets and surveillance equipment, the troops successfully cleared the terrorists. 17 suspects were arrested in the general area of operations and are being profiled. 5 gun trucks, several logistic bunkers were destroyed, while 8 AK-47 rifles were recovered from the criminals. However, 6 members of the JTF, comprising 2 officers and 4 soldiers, paid the supreme sacrifice during the encounter. And turning our attention to health matters, the coronavirus pandemic could be described as a blessing in disguise to the health sector, as it exposed the weak structure and brought about drastic improvement. It is, however, not all rosy amidst other challenging diseases. Uche Ugochukwu in this report reviews the multi-sectoral approaches and legislations in managing evolving trends in the outgoing year.
Since its detection 2 years ago, coronavirus continues to devastate people and economies around the world. To worsen the situation, various variants kept on emerging, with the Omicron being the most recent. This has been sending fresh shivers up the spines of people and nations who resort to listing and delisting on travel restrictions across countries.
And all of us around the world are trying to adjust to how to manage long-term COVID pandemic, and hoping very much on vaccines and on being able to make our own vaccines ourselves.
The major emphasis since the delivery of the first batch of 3.94 million doses of the AstraZeneca jabs in March and subsequent deliveries being on making vaccination more accessible to the people, with the mandate for compulsory vaccination for all federal and some state civil servants.
We have empowered the permanent secretaries to be responsible for enforcement in their agencies.
More molecular laboratories continue to spring up, and now all 774 local government areas in Nigeria reportedly use electronic case-based reporting system to detect and track disease threats in time. President Muhammadu Buhari, in the year under review, approved the setting up of a Health Sector Reform Committee. The committee, under the chairmanship of Vice President Yemi Oshinbajo, is expected to undertake a review of all healthcare reforms adopted in the past 2 decades and lessons learned, then factor them into the development of the new Health Sector Reform Program. President Buhari also accented to COVID-19 Disease Health Protection Regulation Act 2021. The food safety training manuals were launched as committees that will implement the National Health Act 2014 and the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund were inaugurated. Worthy of note is the federal government's consistency in placing additional 50,000 HIV patients on treatment. The National Assembly didn't rest on its oars. It, among other resolutions, amended the National Health Insurance Act 2021.
25 bills were passed at third reading. The amendment of the Health Act, and then the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency Bill, and the most important one that people made a lot of noise about, the Infectious Diseases Repeal and Enactment Act.
Whatever is budgeted for the past 2 years has been released in health almost 100%. So unlike before that you have allocation of about 4-5% of consolidated revenue to health, and then the budgetary release may not be more than 35 to 40%. So there is much increment in terms of release, and we do hope that the budgetary allocation will also match it so that we can be moving forward.
While mitigating measures subsisted, the year 2021 experienced the worst cholera outbreak in 2 decades, with almost all states affected, recording near 4 million fatalities. Meanwhile, the nation's resident doctors were on strike for 63 days of the year. These challenges notwithstanding, public resilience brings a ray hope that 2022 will be better. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
And to talk about some of the challenges in the health sector is Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa, Director General, Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Thank you so much for joining us on Network News.
Thank you for having me.
Compliments of the season.
Wish you the same.
Let's talk about COVID-19 and the fourth wave, sweeping across the country. It's something that people are afraid of, and the spike in the cases across the country is sort of alarming. So what's your take on that? What can you tell Nigerians?
I think that Nigerians are not sufficiently afraid because we don't see actions.
I am afraid.
Well, I know, but I just say the generality, we don't see the commensurate actions in terms of, adhering to public health safety measures as instituted by PSC and even previously in terms of the uptake of vaccination. But I think everybody knows, or a lot of people who, if they were not previously convinced, have witnessed the spread of COVID in this fourth wave. Many health facilities, many offices have had workers having to stay at home, isolate, a few having to have treatment, and perhaps even more worrying is the number of healthcare workers who themselves have to be away from their stations in hospital and health facilities instead of looking after other sick people, both people who have problems with COVID and otherwise. So the message for Nigerians really is, okay, we are celebrating the new year in a few hours. I just urge Nigerians to please celebrate responsibly. The consequences of anything we do today, we might see in another week or two. But if we can avoid that surge resulting from New Year celebrations by celebrating responsibly.
Okay, reports from the Western world is advocating that persons with low immunity should be prioritized over those with natural immunity when it comes to COVID-19. Is that what is happening in Nigeria too?
I'm not sure what reports exactly you're referring to, but I think if you're talking about prioritizing high-risk groups for vaccination, and people are at high risk for various reasons, including reasons of low immunity, whether because they're on medication or they have chronic diseases or they have a primary problem with their immune responses. But you also would remember that the way the vaccination program started in Nigeria is those were the targets. So the elderly and people with comorbidities, hypertension, diabetes, and all other similar conditions, cancers, were the primary targets for the first few doses of vaccines that became available. And as more doses became available, more of the general population are covered. But it doesn't change the fact that the high-risk groups are still a target for vaccination and should receive priority whenever they turn up for vaccination.
Since they are still in the vulnerable group.
Yes, exactly.
Apart from COVID-19, cholera and Lassa fever was reported across the country too. What is really happening here?
Well, Lassa fever started, cholera started as sort of the usual isolated outbreaks and then became somewhat generalized, but more importantly, and perhaps more worrying, was prolonged compared to the previous year. And we had cases almost across all of the states in the country and the FCT, and NCDC staff were at different times in anything from 10 to 14 states helping with response to cholera for a significant part of the year. It's a mixture of things, really. So, well, the primary issue or primary risk factor for cholera is poor water and sanitation and hygiene, and it looks like we're in a mix of the changes we are seeing in the climate and lack of availability of the usual sources of water, delayed and prolonged rainfall, and they all made for a bad mix that led to cholera lasting longer than it normally should. And we are hoping, as the NCDC, we've encouraged the various excellencies, the state governors, to early in 2022 make the necessary investments in water and sanitation.
There's
and
vaccination
hygiene,
too.
And vaccination, usually as part of the response to definitely, if they do that, we will see less of cholera in the coming year.
It's crossover night, and a lot of people are out there, and Omicron is, sort of looking down on everybody and saying, I'm waiting for you to make that mistake. What do you have to say to Nigerians as they go to crossover? The crowd is going to be awesome.
Well, fellow Nigerians, we have recommendations in place about occupancy for your crossover services tonight. Remember, churches and indoor spaces, when fully occupied, are going to be crowded, and then with poor mask use, you're at very high risk of transmission of SARS-CoV-2 and getting COVID like any other respiratory infection. So please protect yourself by celebrating responsibly. Ensure you use your mask properly, covering your nose and your mouth. Ensure physical distancing to the extent that is possible. You can do your crossover service at night. We have all sorts of virtual platforms in churches that allow you to do that. And that way you will protect yourself, protect your family, and, well, not take COVID back home for the new year.
And those who are not vaccinated should get vaccinated.
Please go and get vaccinated. If you've not been previously vaccinated, or if you've been previously vaccinated and received your second dose more than 6 months or more ago, please go get your booster doses.
DG NCDC, Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa, thank you so much for your insight into the challenges in the health sector and how it has been overcome. And it's been overcome too. Happy New Year in advance.
We should assume. Thank you for
so
having
much
me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on, Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Boboye Oyeyemi, restates the commitment of the Corps to the campaign of making the nation's highways safer, while urging officers and men of the Corps to remain focused on improved service delivery in justifying the national confidence reports in the Corps. The Corps Marshal, in his New Year message, pledged continuous improvement in traffic management and safety administration in the country. The Corps Marshal noted that though the challenges of 2021 are multifaceted, with great risk in some personnel lost, where some personnel lost their lives on patrol while trying to save others, he enjoined all to remain undeterred in carrying out their statutory obligation of making the roads safer for all on the ongoing campaign against the spread of COVID-19 and the new variant Omicron. The Corps Marshal says the FRSC remains at the vanguard of the campaign and urged the personnel of the agency and travelers to remain conscious and observe all safety protocols. The $1.2 billion Kano to Kaduna standard gauge project is to be converted from a single to double tracks. Minister of Transportation Chubuke Rotimi Amechi, while inspecting the project, directed the contractors to revert to double tracks immediately. Oyinaya Kalu Oka reports.
This is the first visit of the Minister of Transportation, Chibike Rotimi Amechi, to the construction site of the Kano-Kaduna Standard Gauge Line at Dawakin Kodu in Kano State. Clearing has started at the 204-kilometer project, but so far only 59 kilometers has been cleared. The minister was not impressed with the level of work. He directed the contractors to comply with the suggestion of the Federal Executive Council by converting the single track to double tracks in conformity with the original plan of the Lagos-Kano Rail Line project.
We say double track. Yeah, for double formation. Yeah, the formation is for double.
At the University of Transportation in Daura, Katsina State, work is slow, with only few buildings completed. The idea of breaking the project into phases did not sit well with the minister.
We agreed, you've already designed and approved. Then you came to site, because we're not coming to site, you now break it into what you call phase 1. So 2 hostels as part of phase 1, 1 faculty office as part of phase 1, then 3 two classrooms and 1 lab. Yeah. In your country, will you do that? Is that how they build university in your country? What kind of stinginess? Yeah, and of all people, you, you have the most contract in Nigeria. And you're doing like a person who's going to market. My 3 market in Port Harcourt to buy Gucci, Chingom. For this, let's go. You see me on the office on Tuesday.
The minister directed that both projects must be completed and inaugurated in 2022. The minister was at the palaces of the emirs of Kano and Daura and was commended for his efforts in transforming the transportation sector. This is the last assignment of the minister in 2021. Oyinaya Kalu Oka, NTA News.
It's time to join Michael in our Lagos studio for more on Network News. Hello, Michael. Happy New Year in advance.
Hello, Jummai. Wishing you the same. 2021 is the year of the rail revolution. This is because apart from the inauguration of one of the most strategic rail networks to trade and commerce in the sub-region, contractual agreements were sealed for the commencement of sizable number of rail projects. Our correspondent in this report examines how these initiatives will shape the goal of connecting all parts of the country to the rail network by year 2022. The rail subsector, like any other, took a bold step to eclipse the devastating effect of COVID-19 on mobility in 2021. In spite of this challenge, the prospect was to increase daily round trips to 16 on the Lagos-Ibadan rail line. Although not totally achieved, the inauguration of the project for full commercial services by President Muhammadu Buhari was a turning point, as the rail mode of transportation is now the preferred choice along the corridor.
The connection through rail would position Nigerian ports as the choice for import and export business of the people of landlocked Niger Republic.
The extension of the Lagos-Ibadan rail line by 6.8 kilometers to gain access into the port is a huge win for business owners already frustrated by the unending gridlock at their Papa Port corridor.
The old good days of railway, moving containers, moving goods, moving farm produces, moving livestock is gradually getting back. Supply chain mechanism is being improved.
At the back of this big win, more contracts for the expansion of the rail network were signed.
The Kaduna-Kano is progressing, and the Port Harcourt-Manuguri reconstruction, we are working seriously to ensure that we achieve meaningful results. So we are also looking for funds, both for the standard gauge and to complete Calabar, Lagos.
The Kano-Maradi rail line is no doubt a game changer in the quest to make Nigerian ports preferred destination for West African-bound cargoes.
The country would earn revenue through expansion of trade and commerce.
The gains are enormous, but the low point was the use of explosives to destroy certain portion of the Abuja-Kaduna rail line, and the perceived preference for rail transportation ensured that services were restored within 48 hours. In 2022, there are optimism of increase in frequency, especially on the routes already activated, while freight service is expected to commence in March on the Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge rail line.
By 2022, we have no excuse not to meet the 16 round trips for Lagos-Ibadan and consolidate on the 12 round trips for Abuja, Kaduna. And we're also finding a way to increase the frequency of the Takwe-Warri to 6.
Just like when it was introduced on the Abuja-Kaduna route about a year ago, January 2022, she witnessed the introduction of e-ticketing on Lagos-Ibadan and Warri-Takwe rail lines, and this should lay a solid foundation for the harvest of some rail line projects that will be delivered in 2022. The robust security architecture deployed to address crime and criminality in Lagos State is part of strategies initiated to make the metropolis unconducive for criminal elements. Lagos State Commissioner of Police Hakeem Odumosu at a media party said officers and men of Lagos State Police Command remain resolute to sustain the momentum. Abolade Salami reports.
And economic development thrive only in an environment devoid of crime, civil unrest, and all forms of social vices. Nigeria's commercial nerve center, Lagos, in the last 4 quarters of the year, has experienced relative peace based on the proactive approach, intelligence gathering, and investigations conducted by the Nigerian police in an attempt to nip crime in the bud.
The carefully reviewed security strategies, coupled with the administrative and operational strategies consciously put in place to keep this place safe for law-abiding residents and uncomfortable for criminals.
CP Odumosu said in the quarter under review, the command busted several criminal hideouts, suspects were arrested, catch of arms and ammunition and cartridges seized, stolen vehicles and human skeletons were intercepted, including the discovery of an illegal security outfit.
Let me sound a note of warning to all criminal elements who are either domiciled in the state or who sometimes sneak into Lagos from neighboring states to perpetrate their nefarious acts. Lagos State will not be safe haven for criminals. This I stand by, and this we shall maintain.
The stolen items seized from the suspects, including a number of locally made pistols and cartridges, 8 dummy wooden guns, and charms. The Commissioner of Police said the law will take its full course on the suspects. As Nigerians prepare to usher in the new year, the CP is appealing for all to celebrate with moderation without the use of dangerous fireworks. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
This is NTA Network News. More reports shortly after this break. Please stay.
Join over 700,000 satisfied members and enjoy the premium experience at our offices across the 36 states in Nigeria, including the FCT. Call 094615-700-704 to make the switch today. Premium pension. Active today, premium tomorrow.
Does your toothpaste give you complete fresh protection? New Close-Up Toothpaste Complete Fresh Protection takes care of your 5 important oral care needs. It gives you strong teeth, prevents tooth holes, cleans deeply, fights bacteria, and gives you fresh breath. Complete fresh protection from Close-Up.
Dear friend, as 2020 2021 ends, we share your gratitude for its blessings. We acknowledge your low moments too and wish you strength to carry through. At Bedmate, we'll keep making your living better because we believe that furniture is not just an item made of wood, glass, marble, or steel, but a symbol of your unity and good times with your loved ones. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year full of all the finest things you desire.
Not all washing powders are the same. Sunlight adds bursts of freshness to cleaning power to give you Sunlight 2-in-1 for sensational cleaning and freshness that lasts. Sunlight 2-in-1, sensational cleaning with burst after burst of freshness. Introducing Sunlight with luxurious oud fragrance.
Confidence is important in life's little moments. Strong teeth can help, even if they get her into trouble sometimes. A great smile is useful to break the ice, and making friends is easier when you know you have fresh breath. I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. Its antibacterial action formula gives them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath. The confidence of 3 toothpaste in 1. Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
From the heart of the Federal Capital Territory
To the ancient city of Kano,
from the sprawling rooftops of Ibadan
to the bustling markets of Aba and the creeks of the Niger Delta, you really can't beat the reach.
Over the years, we have kept going, keeping you informed, educated, and entertained.
And how have we survived in the very challenging year?
Because of our pillars of support, namely the 3 tiers of government, ministries, departments, and agencies,
Corporate bodies and advertisers,
religious bodies,
civil society groups,
political parties, and most importantly, you, our esteemed viewers. Together, we made 2021 great.
And together, we shall make 2022 greater.
Thank you from all of us here at NTA. Your season's greetings and a prosperous new year.
You're welcome back as 2022 beckons. Join NTA Live at 11:30 this evening as we join our correspondents in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and Abuja as we usher in the new year. The federal government has extended the deadline for the National Identification Number NIN subscriber identity model SIM data verification to the 31st of March 2022. A joint statement by NCC NIN-SIM indicates that the extension would enable the federal government to consolidate the gains of the process and accelerate the enrollment of Nigerians in key areas like the remote areas, diaspora, schools, hospitals, worship centers, and the registration of legal residents. Let's now join Mohammed Ibrahim in Maiduguri for more on Network News. Hello, Mohammed. Happy New Year.
Hello, Jummai. Thank you for joining us in Maiduguri. Borno State government has assured of complementing federal government's reconstruction drive of structures affected by insurgency at the Nigerian Arabic language village in Gala towards restoration of full academic activities. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum, represented by his deputy Umar Usman Kadafur, stated this during the inauguration of completed projects at the institution. Maimuna Garba reports.
Nigeria Arabic Language Village in Gala, Borno State was established in 1992 by the federal government to train undergraduate students of Arabic language in tertiary institutions and the working class through workshops and seminars such as these observance of World Arabic Language Day 2021. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum, represented by Deputy Governor Umar Usman Kadafur, reaffirmed commitment to support rebuild efforts by the management of the institution after their displacement from Gala local government area and subsequent resumption of academic activities at the liaison office in Maiduguri metropolis.
Current government of Borno State continues to support the village with focus on rebuilding the structures which have been destroyed as a result of insurgency.
So far, about 20 universities and about 56 colleges of education telling them that they should come because there is peace in the world.
Various speakers, including guest lecturer Professor Emeritus Munzali Jibrin, urged government at all levels to provide the needed funding to enable the institution work stronger after the effect of Boko Haram insurgency as a means for the country to gradually key into the global economic and strategic benefits of Arabic language. The event also featured presentation of awards for contributions and outstanding performances, as well as inauguration of a multipurpose hall named after Governor Zulum at the liaison office of the school. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
And that is it from Maiduguri, and it's just about time for another commercial break, after which the network news continues in Abuja. Compliments of the season.
Introducing the one gift for all this festive, GoTV Super. Enjoy more channels, more variety, more entertainment on GoTV Super. GoTV, love it.
Over Femi Martins. Just look at this. Remember the name.
The African Cup of Nations starts on the 9th of January 2022 on NTA, powered by Afrosports. For sponsorship and advertisements, contact us on 090-9890-6913 or 090-3513-2838.
Me and you, let's get to Ghana. Hey! Go and jump.
This is Ghana. You've come here to seek for greener pastures. Make it your worthwhile.
Any guinea fowl is a guinea. Guinea fowl has to do with guinea. It's just the name of the fowl. So Ghana is a lot. What is it? Is it Nigerian beans?
What?
Have you made before?
No.
Jasper! Help me!
Welcome back. In a show of the nation's appreciation for the selfless service rendered by two departed elder statesmen, President Mahmoud Buhari sent a delegation to Kano to condole with the government, people and families of late Dr. Datti Ahmed and Malam Ado Gwaram. Abdullahi Mustafa reports that the presidential delegation was led by Minister of Defense Bashir Salihi Magashi.
The presidential delegation, led by the Minister of Defense Bashir Salihi Magashi, arrived the ancient city through the 403 Flying Training School of the Nigerian Air Force. On the entourage were Minister of Communications and Digital Economy Isa Ali Pantami, that of Water Resources Sulaiman Hussein Adamu, and Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity Garba Shehu. They were led to the deceased residence by the Secretary to the State Government Usman Al-Haji. Leader of the delegation conveyed President Muhammadu Buhari's condolence to the family of Dr. Ibrahim Datti Ahmed, describing him as a man of immense wisdom who, as a doyen of private medical practice, made significant contribution to the provision of health care to the poor and needy.
Mala Ado Gwaram was a renowned teacher who taught many of us in elementary schools and primary schools.
We are thankful and grateful for the condolence.
Minister of Communications and Digital Economy Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami led special prayers for the repose of the souls of the departed elder statesmen. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
And that's it on Network News. But before we go, don't forget to join us live at 11:30 tonight as we join our correspondents in Abuja, Port Harcourt, Lagos and Kaduna as we welcome and usher in the new year. I am Jummai Yusuf. Don't forget to join us in the fight against rape and rapists. Happy New Year in advance.
We want to talk about rights, there are obligations. I'm not saying that this government is a saint, it's very far from it. But there are things that we can do to make it better, and that's the challenge I'm throwing to you. You don't want to build this nation? I don't know where else you want to go. If I had a choice, I'll come back. When I stand outside and I hear what you have to say about this country that I know that I can die for as one, then I'm really sad because you're young. You have education. You have tools. You have a huge future ahead of you. And you're condemning yourself before you started on that journey. So please don't do that. Please don't.
This is the network service of the NTA.
The 2022 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration is here again. The Nigeria Armed Forces work tirelessly day and night to give us peace to go about our businesses. Some have paid the supreme price. Should we forget the families and loved ones they left behind? No.
I am therefore privileged to honor these veterans who devoted most of their lives, active lives, to securing the nation and the world at large.
So, let's support the Nigerian Armed Forces and their families, corporate organizations, government agencies, parastatals, and individuals. Let's show our